country. The 13 American colonies were controlled by the King of Britain. In the year 1763, Britain and the British colonies allied had just won the French and Indian War against France.
My name is King George III, the King of Great Britain. It is with my deepest pride and greatest honor to sign this proclamation of 1763 as we had just won the war. This document prohibits any English settlement west of the Appalachian Mountains and requires those already settled in those regions to return east in an attempt to ease tensions with our fellow Native Americans. Thank you. Although it was a happy moment, they had an unpleasant dilemma. They had a huge debt to pay off from the war. In order to do so, Parliament decided to make taxes that every British citizen shall pay. They called these taxes Acts. One of the first acts was the Sugar Act of 1764. Oh, hello. Good day to you. Have you heard about the Sugar Act? It's a modified version of the old Molasses Act. Apparently, since it did not make much of an income, they made this new taxation.
What taxes does it have on?
Well, they are putting a tax on import duties on foreign molasses, sugar, wine, and other commodities.
We do not need those items to survive in our daily lives. We shall live without purchasing or using them.
And so they did. Many other colonists had the same idea, so they completely avoided the tax.
Why on earth are they not paying the taxes on sugar?
Well, sir, it seems to me that they are not purchasing the sugar from the merchants. Therefore, they are not paying the taxes that goes along with it.
This is also impacting the merchants since no one is buying their items.
It seems so.
We've got to do something about this. We still have our huge debt left from the war. We need to produce a new act. This time a little more effective.
Like what?
Oh, I have a great idea. What if we put a tax on every piece of printed paper item? We'll call it the Stamp Act of 1765.
Excellent. That'll get our revenue to increase.
Very well. We shall tell King George III.
Once he approved, every newspaper, pamphlet, bill, legal document, licenses, almanacs, playing cards, and every piece of paper had a tax to go along with it. This was the very first act that directly affected the colonists, and they were furious.
I cannot believe Parliament has the right mind to tax us on something that we need in our lives.
Exactly. How shall we keep up with the news around our colonies? How shall we print our documents? This is preposterous.
Indeed, all the colonists thought that as well. Many people were so enraged they started to rebel. There even was one secret group of people, mainly from Boston and a few people from other colonies, called the Sons of Liberty. The rebellious leader of that group was Samuel Adams.
Welcome, everyone. As you know, we are here today to discuss about this horrid act that taxes every paper item there is. We need to do something to go against it now.
Now, cousin, no need to get all feisty, but I agree we shall do something to speak up. But keep in mind, do not be aroused.
Very well, John.
The members of the Sons of Liberty and a few other colonists who opposed of this act did not purchase additional goods from the merchants as a way of rebelling. Alarmed by this movement, the British merchants petitioned Parliament to repeal the act. Eventually, the Stamp Act got repealed in 1766. Although they took away a major taxation act, that did not mean they would stop making more. Some of the many other acts included the Navigation Act, Wool Act, Hat Act, Iron Act, Quartering Act, Tea Act, Townshend Act, and the Coercive/Intolerable Act.
After all these overwhelming acts, the colonists had had enough. They felt as if they had no voice in Parliament because only Britain were making the taxation laws for them. So, most of them decided not to pay their taxes because they were either too poor or they wanted to rebel for their rights.
On the other hand, Parliament stated that the colonists were fully represented as English people, who also did not have the right to vote. Many colonists disagreed, as they saw it as Britain using the colonies as if they were a source of profit, utilizing their sources for its own gain.
This led to heating tensions, just like the scenario that happened in Boston on March 5th, 1770, called the Boston Massacre. Hey, you lobsterback! Go home! Everyone despises you!
Yeah, get lost, bloody back! No one even likes you! You're useless!
I I shall not be treated this way by you little numbskulls.
Yeah, I should treat you this way. No one even likes you. You're so poor that you're probably desperate to be a bloody bag from Britain.
Go away and mind your own business.
Hey, don't you dare talk to a child like that.
Oh my, this soldiers are beautiful little children.
How dare they? Why are you doing this to little
Go
children?
away! I did nothing wrong!
Yeah, right.
Monster back! Oh no! Crispus Atherstein! A free African American! That lobster back did it on purpose!
Hey,
Fly back! You did it! Go back to Britain! You're evil and mean! This horrific scenario later became known as the Boston Massacre. This was a headline for many newspapers, and all of the colonists thought the soldiers had planned to kill their fellow citizens on purpose.
The worst part about this is that this wasn't the end of all the situations that happened in Boston.
3 years later, there was another huge rebellion called the Boston Tea Party. This was to oppose the Tea Act of 1773. Come on, my fellow members of the Sons of Liberty! Today is the day where we dump 15,000 pounds worth of British tea. We're finally going to rebel at this ludicrous act.
Yeah!
What shall we disguise as so we won't get caught?
Simple. We shall disguise as Native Americans. The British will just think we are here to help them. They will never suspect such a thing.
Very well, let's get on.
One by one, they threw each chest of British tea down the Boston harbor. It took them many, many hours.
Come on, my fellow members. Parliament had discovered that they wasted 15,000 pounds of worth their tea.
So as punishment, they created the Five Intolerable or Coercive Acts.
The measure that made the greatest impact of that act was to close the port of Boston until the East India Company paid for the lost tea. I guess Parliament has had enough trouble with Boston. At this point, England and the colonies began growing apart. British statesmen believed Parliament had complete authority over the colonies. They can tax, make laws for them, and abolish their elected assemblies.
This started to form patriot people who wanted to rebel in the Americas. Some patriot people included George Washington, Patrick Henry, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John and Samuel Adams. No taxation without representation was a common phrase patriots would say, meaning a subject's property cannot be taken away from him without his consent.
Now, since patriots did not want anything to do with Britain, they began discussing how to break away from them. They first met in a committee of correspondence, which was influenced by Samuel Adams. This enabled people to act together and to communicate about how Britain was unfair.
There was also another important meeting called the Continental Congress. Almost all the delegates participated at the first meeting at Philadelphia in 1774. My name is Peyton Randolph, a Virginia lawyer, and we are here today to discuss about how we shall break away from Great Britain. Today we have successfully discussed about denouncing parliamentary taxation and the Five Intolerable Acts. Come all, we shall sign this Continental Association document that states to destroy all trade with England if Great Britain does not change. Thank you very much.
At the Second Continental Congress, it included all 13 colonies, and they were determined to fight for their rights. I am honored to be chosen as the commander for the Continental Army we had created. I am proud to be a patriot and not a loyalist to Britain, and we shall earn our rights. I know for a fact that we are ready to start a new revolution.
George Washington, go! Woo!
Everyone despises you.
Yeah, you're just so
rebel of this ludicrous act.
Yeah!
We shall. Just cut this out. Okay. We need to redo the yaw. Okay.
Yeah!
Wait.
Oh, I'm in the background.
Regina! Oh, my volume's down.
Oh no, Christmas Hatchet's died.
No one likes you.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine, and you're not really fine. You just can't get into it because they would